In this video, we are going to look at the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. Slope-intercept form is the classic y equals mx plus b form of a line. And so you notice that in standard form, we have x and y on the same side of the equation. In slope-intercept form, we have y on one side and x on the other side. We also have two variables here. M is the slope, and when we're thinking about slope, one way that we can think about it is rise over run. And B is the y-intercept. Which is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So when we are graphing an equation that is written in slope-intercept form, our first step is to plot the y-intercept, the b, on the y-axis. That gives us 1 point of our line. To get the second point, we use the slope. So we want to write the slope as a fraction if it isn't already a fraction. And then we use rise over run. Starting from the point that we already have. And we count from the first point to find the second point. So we're going to look first at example 4 from the book. It says to graph y equals 3x minus 4. And so the first thing that we want to do is identify our slope and our y-intercept. Our b is always the number that's by itself, and our m is always the number that's in front of x. So b in this case is -4. So on my graph, I'm going to go on the y-axis and plot a point at -4. My m in front of x here is +3. Now, this is not a fraction. If we have a whole number and we need to write it as a fraction, then the denominator of the fraction is 1. So 3 over 1 is the same as 3. And what I do with this is this tells me that my rise is always the top number. So my rise is 3. That means I'm going to count up 3 from my initial point, and my run is 1. That means I count to the right 1. And so from my initial point, now I'm going to count up 3. That gets me to here, and then count to the right 1. That gives me my second point right here. Then I'm just going to draw the line in, connecting those 2 points as straight as I can, which is not very straight on this computer. So that's example 4. What you should do now is look at checkpoint problem number 4 in the book, pause the video, and then resume the video once you've checked your answer for this problem. We are now going to look at example 5. This problem says to graph f of x equals -3/2 x plus 2. And so the first thing that you need to realize is that when it says f of x, that's just another way of saying y when we're dealing with problems involving graphing. So you might see f of x equals or y equals, those are the same thing. So that's kind of the first concept here. Now, just like before, I want to identify b first. In this case, b is positive 2. So I'm going to put a point on positive 2 on the y-axis. And then identify my slope. My m in front of x is negative 3 over 2. Now this is already a fraction, so I don't need to worry about that. But what this is telling me is that my rise is going to be negative 3. Now if the rise is a negative number, that means that instead of counting up, I'm counting down. So I'm going down 3, and my run is 2, so I'm counting to the right 2. If your slope is positive, that's going to make an upward slanting line, and if your slope is negative, that should always make a downward slanting line. So I'm going to count down 3 here, and then 2 to the right to get my second point, which is right here. And I'm going to try and draw a nice straight line connecting those 2 points. So it's going to look like that. I have a downward slanting line, which is what I should have. So what you should do next is look at checkpoint problem number 5. Notice that this problem is a little bit different because I don't have a value of b, and I'll give you a little hint here. If there's nothing added or subtracted, that means that b is 0. And so for my y-intercept, that's going to be at 0, which is going to be right here at the point it's called the origin, where the x and y axis meet. So do this problem, check the answers in the notes that are posted on Blackboard, and then you can move on to the homework.